Hi everyone, this is Whit from Brainstem Tutoring, and this morning I took an SAT practice exam. I'll talk more about that during the recap, but I am going to catch up on some of this English that I didn't get to throughout the week. This is still the information ideas domain, specifically the command of evidence. And I didn't know what these types of questions were because I hadn't seen these in so long, but these were some of the ones that during the practical exam where I was very hesitant. It's stuff like looking at charts and which data points suggest this hypothesis or refutes this claim, blah blah blah. So this is a really long document. It's 35 questions. I probably am going to tap out at 20. This is in the medium difficulty as well. Okay, so we'll see me do these blind like usual. Although many transposons, DNA sequences that move within an organism's genome through shuffling or duplication have become corrupted and inactive over time, those from the long interspersed nuclear elements line family appear to remain active in the genomes of some species. In humans, now, I read through that sentence, and I saw this tip today where when it comes to reading and writing, if you don't understand a line, you probably shouldn't move forward. So let me try reading that again. Although many transposons, not sure what that word means, DNA sequences that move within an organism's genome through shuffling or duplication may have become corrupt or inactive over time. Okay, so there's this thing, DNA, it gets bad over time. Those from the long interspersed nuclear elements family appear to remain active in the genome of some species. In humans, they are functionally important within the hippocampus, a brain structure that supports complex cognitive processes. When the results of molecular analysis of two species of octopus, an animal known for its intelligence, were announced in 2022, the confirmation of the line transposons in those two species prompted researchers to hypothesize that the transposon family is tied to a species' capacity for advanced cognition. That seems important. Which finding, if true, would most directly support the researcher's hypothesis? Okay, we should look at where the hypothesis word came from. Hypothesize that transposons family is tied to a species' capacity for advanced cognition. The line transposon in those two species is active in an octopus brain structure that functions similarly to a human. Meh. The human genome contains multiple transposons from the line family that are all primarily active in the hippocampus. Maybe. A consistent number of copies of line transposon is present across the genomes of most octopus species, with few known corruptions. This one I'm going to have to read the reasoning for. I feel somewhat confident that it's not those two. There should be something about advanced cognition. I'm rereading the paragraph, rereading A and B. Yeah, I think we do the experiments on the octopus first and then humans next. So I'm going to go with B. Okay. Characteristics of the banks of River downstream of the Jordanelle Dam. Characteristics of the side of the river of this river. Okay. Long time ago, it was grass, a little bit of bare soil, a lot of forests. Grass went up, bare soil. Grass cover went down. Grass went up even more. That went up. That went down. Okay. Jordanelle Dam was built on Provo River in Utah, blah, blah. Track the change to the environment of the banks downstream of the river, including how much grass, forest cover were present. They concluded that the dam changed the flow of the river in ways that benefited grass plants, but did not benefit trees. That makes sense. I think we picked that out from the data already, that grass, forest went down over time, but grass went up over time. Which choice best describes data from the graph that supports the conclusion? The lowest amount of grass cover was approximately such meters, and the highest amount of forest. I don't care about maxes. I care about it over the progress of time. There was more grass cover than forest cover in 87, and this difference increased dramatically and such. Okay. It sounds good. The second half is good, but the first part is false. There is more forest cover in 1987. There was less grass cover than bare soil in 87, but more grass cover than bare soil in those 2 years, whereas there's more forest cover than bare seen all. We're not really comparing it to the bare soil. And then lastly, grass increased where forest decreased. This is exactly what we wanted. Spot on. Participant responds to 3 review conditions. Participants' mean rating, helpfulness of review, attitude towards reviewed product. They're all pretty similar. To understand, let me move this. To understand how expressions of anger and review of product affect readers of those reviews, business scholars and colleagues measured participants' responses to 3 versions of the same negative review. Control review expressing no anger, a review expressing high degree of anger, a review expressing low degree of anger. Reviewing the data, a student concludes that the mere presence of anger in a review may not negatively affect a reader's perception of the review, but a high degree of anger does worsen. Conclusion, conclude. These are pretty much the same, down when high anger is present. I don't think we're not talking about the differences between these, like the 3 bars being different from each other. So that doesn't feel right. Compared with participants who saw control group, participants who saw low anger rated their view as slightly more helpful, whereas participants who saw less helpful. That would support it, but I'm not sure if that's actually true. Participants who saw a low Inger review rated the review as slightly more helpful than participants who saw the control, but participants' attitude towards the reviewed product was slightly worse when participants saw low Inger. Ooh. No, your comparison saw low. This feels exactly up the alley of what we're talking about. Let me move my head. Sandra's novella House on Mango Street made a lasting impression on U.S. literature. Its depiction of Mexican American culture inspired later authors to examine how their own heritage within their fictional works. Also influential was the book's portrayal of the main character Esperanza during a pivotal year of her youth. This insightful depiction of a preteen girl encouraged authors who, like Cisneros herself, are Latinos to use fictional works to examine experience from their own youth. Which statement, if true, would most strongly support the claim in the underlined sentence? It'd be perfect if there was another author who did it, right? Reuse the number of Latinos. Actions speak louder than words, but at least these people in interviews say that this inspires them. Published writings, several prominent authors who are not Latino said this reading influenced their approach. Nope. House on Mango Street sold over 6 million copies, one of the most read books. Okay, cool, but this doesn't apply. New novels about young Latino characters. We're not comparing, we're just noticing that there's more of them. So, still going with that. Degermination with and without H2S treatment. Control, a little bit, a lot. The little bit worked the best. In high concentrations is typically toxic, but we want to see how low doses affect growth. Treatment with particular concentration of H2S was associated with accelerated germination. For example, "24 hours, you can't really tell a difference." Can definitely tell a difference at 48. More than 70% of the trees had germinated, whereas only approximately. This feels perfect. But let's read the other ones. At the end of this, more than 90% of seeds tree with concentration. Oh, that is false. With it too much, it's below 90. That's false. B. Which finding, if true, most would directly support the researcher's conclusion. So I'm literally looking for the word conclusion. Rivers rich in sediment appear yellow, while increasing grid algae make rivers appear red. To track things like the sediment or algae content of large U.S. rivers, Gardner and colleagues used satellite data to determine the dominant visible wavelength of light measured at various segments of the river. Researchers classify wavelengths of this is red, this range is blue, this is yellow. Researchers conclude that for Missouri River, segments flowing into the lake tend to carry more sediment than those flowing out of the lakes. Sediment is yellow. Which finding, if true, would most directly support research conclusion? segment of the Mississippi River that has higher levels of chlorophyll A, which contributes to green color photosynthesis, have dominant wavelengths of light. That just like, I don't know, doesn't really feel like it fits. In lakes through which segments of the Missouri River pass, dominant wavelength of light tend to be above that yellow near the shore and below at the center. Makes sense, but it just doesn't talk about flowing into lakes than flowing out of lakes. The majority of segments of the rivers that are found to have dominant lights. No. Segments flowing. This feels like a repeat of what the last sentence said. They conclude that the presence of certain microbes in soil might explain the difference between healthy and diseased plants. Let's see if we can figure out this answer just from the last sentence. Soil surrounding healthy plants contains significantly higher concentration of microbes known to inhibit this in the soil. Okay, I take it back. Let's read the whole paragraph. Plants like potatoes, tomatoes, and soybeans are susceptible to bacterial wilt disease caused by the bacteria SPLA. A multinational team of scientists led by this person studied whether other microbes in the soil might influence the degree to which these plants are affected by the disease. This team sampled soil surrounding individual tomato plants over time and compared the results of plants that became diseased with those. They concluded that the presence of certain microbes in the soil might explain the difference between healthy and disease. Okay. Whether other microbes influence by the degree which the disease takes place. The soil surrounding healthy plants contains significantly high concentration of microbes known to inhibit. That sounds perfect. Soil surrounding plants contain high concentrations of that. Nope. The soil surrounding healthy plants tend to have significantly higher moisture levels. No talk about moisture. But then experiment over half the plants have been affected by wilt disease regardless of differences, types, concentration. Nope. Definitely feel good about that. Estimated damage to which Evron quarry artifacts were exposed. Flint artifacts dating back to 800,000 million years ago have been recovered in our quarry in Israel, likely created by hominin Homo erectus. The artifacts have no visual features. They were exposed to fire, leading some scholars to conclude that these hominins had not acquired control of fire. Bazaine Sepka. But colleagues were using a method to determine whether these artifacts were exposed to temperature above 400 Celsius. Temperature campfire reach include that hominins who may have had control of fire. Which choice best describes data in the graph that supports the team's conclusion? This one and this one. Artifacts were exposed to a temperature above. False. False. True. True. Doesn't matter if it's above 100 Celsius. True, but doesn't matter. So definitely feel good about B. It was clear that Mars once had liquid water on its surface. Astronomers debated whether the evidence of ancient water reflects a prolonged phase of warm, wet conditions or so-called wet and warm scenario, or a brief period of melting in the otherwise consistently frozen environment. Researchers blah and blah recently added to this debate by using data from NASA and the Morse laser altimeter to map the topography of what is now a large basin in the northern hemisphere. Carden's lamb conclude that the wet and warm scenario is likely correct. Which finding about the basin, if true, would most directly something that supports the warm and wet scenario? Its dimension and shape indicate that it's unlikely to have formed as a result. Okay. Yeah. Like, true, maybe. As features suggest that it once held an ocean. That ocean sounds very similar to wet and warm scenario. Statistical characters are more consistent with having formed as a result of a massive but short-lived influx of liquid water. Ooh. Okay. Ocean water. We'll have to think about that. Surrounded by channels that could have been formed either by running water or flowing lava. Don't want flowing lava. Okay. It has features, I'm reading B again, suggesting that it once held an ocean that underwent gradual sea level changes over extended time. So long, its physical characteristics are most consistent with it having formed as a result of massive but short-lived influx of liquid water. Okay. Prolonged phases. With that, I'm going with extended time B. Cool. Actually, I'm going to stop there because this video is already 22 minutes long. Not sure if it's because I'm tired or if I'm just reading too slowly, time for time's sake. But I'm going to check these and make a correction video if needed. Thank y'all for tuning in, and stay tuned for the recap of day 5. Thank you.